Thank you, Ngoni. It's been such a privilege and a joy working with the team on this day. And I have to give a special shout out, not just to the scholars on the Welcome Day team, but the entire 2 weeks of welcoming. It's a really special and incredible thing every year, but the incoming cohort of Rhodies really are welcomed by those who are currently here on the scholarship. And the amount of energy, but also the care and the creativity that goes into that, I think speaks a lot about what we hope for you guys here when we speak about As We Are Today community. So we really do recognize that this is an exciting time for you, but also overwhelming. You know, so we appreciate, we acknowledge there's a lot that we'll say that you won't necessarily remember, and that's fine. Elizabeth and I were just doing our check-in, and we said, you know, if anything, it's about the tone, you know, more so than the specifics. You know, but you have notebooks, break them out and like capture whatever you need to, you know, but more than anything, sync in with each other, sync in with the day. And we wanted to start, actually, with a conversation with Elizabeth, not only as our warden, but as someone who is actually going through a major transition as you guys are right now. It's been 2 months on the job as a warden and the CEO of the Rhodes Trust. And I wanted to start with, you know, Elizabeth, what is it about the Rhodes Scholarships, about Rhodes Scholars that makes you excited, you know, for this moment, you know, stepping in, having been a scholar for life, but having come up
a long time ago.
I wasn't going to say, I wasn't going to give a number.
30 years.
30 years ago, having come up 30 years ago.
More than 30 years, yeah.
Yeah. What is it about scholars and scholarships?
Well, you know, first of all, I just want to say how excited I am to be newbies with this amazing group. So I feel like I will forever be a member of the 1983 cohort, but also I hope you will accept me as a member of the 2018 too. But I'm so excited to be here. And it's a combination of, you know, what the scholarship has been from its beginnings, but also in particular, what it is today and kind of how it has evolved and grown, and it's such a dynamic and amazing place. So, you know, it is 116 years ago that the scholarships began. That's, you know, the very first global scholarship program. So Rhodes is the very first, and originally in 1902 there were only 57 scholars. They looked very different from how you look today. Among other things, of course, there weren't women until 1977. So it took an act of parliament for women to become Rhodes Scholars. But what an incredible legacy across those 116 years. And so I'm very excited and proud and amazed, you know, that I have an opportunity to contribute to it today. But and you know, there are things about that 116 years that are great continuities. The Rhodes from the very beginning was interested in academic excellence, but also character. And you know, people who wanted to make a difference, and there are a million different ways to make a difference. You're not cut from a single mold, and we don't want you to be. But I find that continuity really inspiring and really exciting. But I'm especially excited because over the last 5 to 10 years, this has been an organization on the move. You know, it's kind of a 116-year-old startup, if you will. And, you know, there's all sorts of things that have happened. There's been the global expansion, where today we have over 20 countries represented and 96 of you, so, you know, many more than were just a few years ago. And that is a process that is continuing, and that, you know, that's incredibly exciting that this global scholarship is becoming more genuinely global. So this year we welcome our first West African scholars, and we're so excited to have you joining the group. We've been expanding to new parts of the world. We've expanded to have a number of partner fellowship organizations that you will get a chance to interact with. The Schmidt Science Fellows, which is a science postdoctoral program, also global, and then the Atlantic Institute, which is a mid-career program of people who are working on issues of social equity. And so we've become this kind of really exciting network a fellowship of fellowships. And so that's very exciting to me to be able to join that. It is an amazing legacy. It's also a complicated legacy. You know, the gentleman whose portrait is behind me, Cecil Rhodes, a complicated figure, a man of his time, an imperialist, a colonialist, someone whose views on critical issues and some of the ways in which he shaped the politics and the economics of his country, of Southern Africa, it remains a very complicated legacy, and one that we have to continue to grapple with. And at the same time, he was somebody with a brilliant idea of creating this scholarship. So I think that draws me. I'm very interested in questions of ethics and in sort of the messy ways in which human institutions and legacies evolve. And so that draws me too, is how we continue to think about that, think about the founding, think about what that calls us to do and to be, and how it calls us to continue to evolve and make this scholarship more global, more inclusive, more diverse year after year. And I think for me in particular, for all of us involved with the Trust, 2018, the last few years have been a really troubling time of fraying international alliances, of a rise in authoritarianism, a rise in xenophobia. So I guess fundamentally, I feel called to be a part of this effort, because now more than ever, the idea of bringing bright young people together from around the world and building that community, bringing you together, having you learn from and with each other, and then go out in all the many ways in which you will into the world and do good things in the world. That is really, I can think of few things that are more inspiring and more important and more hopeful. So I have a great sense of hope as I look at all of you. And finally, I'm really excited also to continue to build the community across generations of Rhodes Scholars. I've met about 300 alumni, over the last few weeks. I've started my kind of world tour, and it's been very inspiring to meet alumni from many, many different generations, and to get a sense of something that is more and more real, and we want to continue to make it more and more real, which is that this is a lifelong fellowship. And I want to in particular share with you that you are here because hundreds of Rhodes Scholars volunteered to be involved in selection, which is a really important thing. You're also here, and when people talk to you about Cecil's tainted money, just think of this, that you are here because over half of living Rhodes Scholars have contributed to the scholarship. I mean, every single scholar in this room has been supported not only by that initial legacy gift, but also by gifts from literally thousands of Rhodes Scholars and other philanthropists who believe in education and in leadership. And so we will ask each of you a couple of times a year to say thank you, to write a note, to make a phone call. And I think that is just one of many ways in which we seek to connect our current scholars to senior scholars and to build that sense of lifelong fellowship. And I'm very excited, too, about being a part of that.
Yeah. I mean, what strikes me in what you're saying is that this is an institution that's constantly evolving, and actually it's the scholars who make the institution.
Yes.
And I think sometimes, for me, when I came up 10 years ago, 2007 from Jamaica, I saw the Rhodes Scholarship and the Rhodes Trust as something very distant from me. And it's actually coming back to work here. This is now my third year working here in this capacity, that I see how much really it's the current scholars that bring new issues to the fore. So I think it's important to say, for instance, on Cecil, that's not a conversation that we would have been having on a welcome day. And it's really scholars who are sitting in your position who said, actually, legacy is something we need to talk about. We want to be at the forefront of how the Trust is dealing with legacy, but also how legacy is being dealt with throughout Oxford. So this is a place in which hard conversations are had. It's a place in which we challenge each other. Sometimes we even confront each other. And I think there's a lot in learning to do that with care with a consciousness. And that's one of the things that's most exciting for me about the opportunity that's available for you. Another thing that really resonates in what you're saying, Elizabeth, is this thing of working together. There are so many ways in which you guys get together to do your own thing, separate and apart from anything that Rhodes House or the Trust does for you. What we do is we brought you here, and we support you. We go above and beyond to do that. But then you peel off with these incredible startup ideas, conversation groups, cultural learnings and exchanges, a trip to Palestine, a trip to China. So I think there's been this real emphasis around, okay, how are we sharing with each other, but what are we doing together and what are we working on together, and how do we use these years in residence as an opportunity to connect in ways that perhaps we hadn't even realized we could, to really bring our passions to bear on what it is we want to do in the world. And then I think the third thing that's important to flag, as far as things for you to look forward to, is when we talk about this lifelong community, literally over 4,000 scholars all throughout the world. We're doing much more to bring them back so that you're able to connect with them while you're here. So the retreats that you'll have first year and second year, moderated by senior scholars, voluntarily they get on a plane, they get here to lock down and spend 3 days with you, share their insights about 10 years, 15 years on, but to really also support you in what you want to pick their brains on. There are also these really cool alumni convenings, topical, thematic, one on ventures, one on healthcare. There's one this term on public leadership. And again, these are scholars 10, 20, 30 years on from where you're sitting now who want to come back and really engage with you. So these are just some of the things to look forward to. But here and now, it really is just the first day.
Yes.
It's transition. Again, a lot that's swirling around. So I wanted to take both of us back a bit, Elizabeth, to when we were coming in and having to navigate the transition ourselves. What little tips, what comes to mind about things to hold on to as you're figuring out this funny place that's Oxford and this funny place that can be the UK? Smiling at Mary and Bob.
So just a few thoughts on that front. I mean, one I would say is to embrace Oxford in all its glorious eccentricity. It's an amazing place. To think about this as a place that for 800 years has fostered learning through plagues, through civil wars, through world wars. That sense of history here is something that I hope that you will kind of embrace. And I was walking down Broad the other day and looked up at the Radcliffe camera and just kind of pinched myself, I can't believe I'm here. So I hope that you will take that kind of that joy, embracing it. Something that I would really recommend, and scholars don't always do this, is to get to know the UK. Make some British friends. There are no UK Rhodes Scholars yet, but make sure that you make some British friends. This is an amazingly beautiful country, and I really encourage you to get out and explore it. Some of you will also want to go further afield, but Jeff and I, my husband Jeff, who's here somewhere, I think. Is he here? Where is Jeff? There he is. Hey. We met here. He's an Aussie. That happens too, yes. But at one point we would rent these. The company was actually called Rent a Wreck. We would rent these really cheap rental cars, and our goal was to see every Gothic cathedral in England. So whatever you're excited about, but make sure that you get to know the UK, because it is a very special and interesting place. As far as colleges, some of you got into your first choice college, some of you didn't. Every single college here has its own special sauce. It is an amazing community, and again, as with everything, you get to make that and to shape that community. But I really encourage you to get involved with your college, and of course through your Rhodes network it will be very easy also to get to know other colleges, and that was something I really enjoyed here, was to get to know a little bit about other colleges through my friends. Now of course you're here to study, right? And so just a few thoughts about that. And you've probably heard some of this before, but it bears repeating, that this is a place that is rather different in its approach to academic study than many of the institutions that you've attended. It is a much more focused on independent study. You will be left to your own devices a lot more than you have probably been to date in your college journey. It's sometimes it has been referred to as benign neglect. So think of it as, it can be unsettling. I found it unsettling at first, and that's okay. But think of it as an opportunity to really find within yourself that, what is it that drives me? What are the questions? Think of it as a freeing opportunity, And it took me a while to kind of find my academic tribe here, and that's okay too. It's but it is a place that, we have world-class minds here. The people doing research here are absolutely extraordinary. And this place broadened my mind in all kinds of wonderful and surprising ways. And so I guess I want to say, take it seriously. Take it seriously because, we need you to represent the Rhodes. But take it seriously because it will be a great gift to you, what you learn here. And then just in a very practical way, especially for those who are in a one-year course, you got to do well and work hard. It's really important in order to get into the second-year course. But so we do expect you to take it seriously, and it is okay if it's a little bit unsettling. And so on that note, and I can really attest to this personally, is transitions can be unsettling. And I've been reflecting on this over the past 2 months that I suspect we're all in the same boat, that we've come from a place of mastery. You were the star students in your university. I had been a college president for 12 years. I knew everyone, and I'm suddenly a newbie and I know nothing. And it's, and that can be unsettling. There are things about this transition that can be irritating or surprising, or you feel like, I'm putting my foot in my mouth. All of that is fine and it's normal. And you may feel a little blue sometimes too. And I just want to say that, I encourage you to kind of lean into those feelings, to know that you're not alone, to reach out to your fellow roadies, and and to recognize that this is actually, starting afresh and being new and having to have that kind of accelerated learning curve is really ultimately very healthy. It builds the muscles of your mind and your heart, And so I just, encourage you not to realize that that's totally normal if there are those little bumps along the way. And you can always come talk to us about it.
Always.
We've all been there.
Always.
So.
I was thinking of things to share with you today, and actually there are three little vignettes from my own time here that came to mind, particularly because there were really, really powerful pieces of advice that didn't land for me until far after the fact. And they're actually gifts that were given to me. So one is when I was at my college, St. Catherine's, wonderful master there named Roger Ainsworth. I think it's interesting that the heads of colleges are sometimes called masters, but I was feeling blue, really, really blue, and he could pick that up. And so he had pulled from the archives these notes on one Caribbean scholar, politician, head of state named Eric Williams, who was at St. Cat's. And what the note said is that young Eric is brilliant, his thesis is groundbreaking, not sure if he'll be able to push through given his depression. So this is a man who struggled while he was here. I mean, I saw some of you nodding, so you'll know he wrote this book, Capitalism and Slavery, which was a landmark in shifting the conversation on what was the motivation for ending slavery at the time that it was ended, that there was a money-making capitalist extent to which it was no longer as useful of a mechanism. And so he was working through these arguments and commanding the data to do these arguments, and he slipped into a deep, deep depression. I'm sure part of it as well was being so far away from home. He did push through. He then went on to be the first president of the independent Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And at the time, it didn't quite land to me What I felt was, yes, all of us Caribbeans come here and we get depressed. But it was a little bit later that really for me the gift was one of perspective. That as much as I felt I am the only one in this position trying to write on something that I'm so passionate about while being so far away from those people and that place, well, would you believe that literally like decades ago someone was going through something similar? So that's kind of one of the gifts. A second gift, another character in my Oxford life, my DPhil supervisor. Quintessential British character, always in tweed with like literally the suede patches on the elbows, very upright on his bicycle, like Macintosh to match the hat, to match the umbrella. There was a green one, there was a khaki one, there was a blue one. He was head of department, really intimidating character, but the only one who kind of had a bit of an insight into what I was studying, so he became my person. And it was a long relationship. We started with the MPhil thesis, we went on to the DPhil. I went back to Jamaica, still writing up, working full time, and we would have these Skype calls. And there was this moment when, again, I was flagging, is this something that I'm going to see through? And he looked at me and he said, Nadiya, you're a little brown girl from an obscure place. I promise you the day will come when you'll have to slam a table and say, I have a doctorate from Oxford, go read me. Now, at the time, I was pretty fussed in him characterizing me the way that he did. But after the fact, again, looking back, what hit me was that this person actually cares about me. It came in a package I didn't quite expect, but this is someone who was willing to be a champion for me and to really root for me. There were different stages of the completion process where literally this man lifted me up and like carried me. Like, Nadiya, we're gonna get this done. So what I'm saying there is support for you. It may not always show up in the ways and in the places that you expect it will, but be open and even be deliberate in looking for those champions because they will come to bat for you. The third little nugget, actually this day, my own welcome day, Sir Colin Lucas was the warden at the time. Very different kind of setup. We were lecture style, looking towards a bay window. There was a halo behind him. If it was overwhelming, it was even more overwhelming. But what I do recall him saying was, look, you're all about creating change in the world. I know it's challenging for you to take a pause, but how about utilizing your years here as an opportunity to understand more about what it is you seek to change before you run off to go change it. Now, there were so many moments of, oh, the agitation and the frustration. Oh, I'm not getting on with it. Oh, does this all make sense? And actually that phrase, like, use this as an opportunity to understand what it is that you want to do in the world. I would say actually use it as an opportunity to understand more about each other and most of all, more about yourself. So those are those little nuggets. You will have your own. But moving on, Elizabeth.
Yes.
And this bit is tricky because we get asked a lot by Rhodes Scholars. What do you expect of us? Given us this scholarship, what are the expectations? And I think there's a lot that you said earlier about the volunteership that actually keeps this scholarship going. From the welcoming, to the selection, to the fundraising. But for folks who are coming in on their first day, what do we say as Rhodes House rules? What we expect.
Sure. So, we do expect that you will represent yourself and the trust in good ways. This is, if you will, this is an important brand in the world and across Oxford. So, we do have high expectations of you in that sense. We expect you to take your studies seriously. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity to study at Oxford, and we do expect you to take that seriously and to invest in your college experience and to find aspects of Oxford that resonate. And that's not going to be the same for everyone, And so there's no single path to that, but we do expect you to take this opportunity and to run with it. I would say ultimately, though, we expect you to be yourself. This is not a place, and Nadiya will talk about this a lot, and we will all do it through the retreats and through the conversations. Is that part of what we hope will happen in this community is that you let go of some of those kind of performative elements of I have to be special. You are all special and you are all messy, and we all are. And that's great. And we love you as you are. So we expect you to be yourselves, to be your authentic selves, because that is what's going to open you up to this journey and to getting to know one another and to being able to give to each other.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'll add about that is a mindfulness around how you guys relate to each other. Pace yourselves, because there are over 20 countries represented just in this room. We all have different ways of doing what we do, from a conversation to letting someone know that we may be interested in them, to offering someone a social invitation. So to be clear, pace yourself, take a chance to kind of observe people, check in with yourself, set boundaries. Think about this when you're having romantic interactions, sexual interactions, when you're thinking about drinking, when you're thinking about recreating. And that's because you don't want to be the person who's crossed a line that you didn't intend to cross. Yeah? So I think that bit of the pace, being mindful of boundaries, being mindful of each other, is something that will serve you well, not just here, but as you're interacting in your colleges and across Oxford.
It's great. It's good advice.
Yeah.
I think another piece that should bring you lots of joy, I think, is that there's a whole team of people here at the Trust, at Rhodes House, that are here for you. And I just want to encourage you, and it is certainly our expectation, that you will, treat everybody with respect. This is an amazing, dedicated, and loving team. And so I just want to call out a few people. I don't know if some people will be here and others may not be, but I think everybody will have met our amazing Porter team, Bob, John, Ricardo, Colin, and Dawn, the folks who came to pick you up. They are an extraordinary resource for all things Rhodes and all things Oxford. So, take advantage. You can always sort of plop down in the Porter's Lodge and chat to them, and they love that, and they're such an important part of this house and its culture. I also want to give a big shout out to several key members of our Scholar Affairs team. So Amber, who did your pickup or organized the pickups and your visas. If folks can stand up when I call your name. So we also, the person that there we go. The person who Skyped with you and worked on your course application and placement, Laura. Let's give her a big shout out. Our real CEO, which stands for Chief Empathy Officer, the amazing Mary. We have a number of teams across the house, and not everybody is here from those teams, but I want to do a shout out. We have a fabulous communications team who spread the word about what's going on. Babette and Claire are here. We have an incredible finance team who makes sure that you get your stipends and all of that good stuff. Let's give them a shout out. We have a hard-working team in development that has raised all this money that supports everything that we do and make possible for you. And so please do respond when they reach out to you for thankathons, for writing thank you notes. And an amazing events team headed by Rodolfo, and we have Lais here from the events team who's been so wonderful organizing this. A member of my own personal team who is near and dear to my heart is my husband Jeff, and he is going to be around the house, and I hope that you'll all get a chance to know him. Jeff will actually be involved with the Blavatnik School and also the Department of Politics and International Relations. So I'm excited that he's sharing this journey with me. And then Nadiya, who is such an important part of this team and has brought so much wisdom and energy to Rhodes House. So thank you for all you do. So, the team, these people and the folks who are not here today but are part of Rhodes House, we really are here for you, and that is actually, I will say, very different from my own experience of Rhodes House in the 1980s. But this is a place that's really here for you, and we encourage you, whether, issues obvious or not so obvious. If you have concerns that are academic or about your accessibility concerns, safety, financial issues, health issues, please speak up, please ask. We can't read your minds, and so, please do speak up if you have questions or concerns. Several of you mentioned this to me, and I think it's a beautiful example of something we've talked about scholars shaping this experience going forward. That the email that you got from Mary about housing costs and how we provide subsidies for housing costs, that really came out of scholars raising concerns about inequities about housing costs. It came up in a town hall, and then they got together and put together a proposal, and we've been able to roll this out. This is the second year. And so that's an example. We do want your ideas, and we want your energy and your leadership for making this experience better. And fundamentally, I guess I just want to say that we believe in you. We believe in each and every one of you. And we love you. This is a loving family, and so I hope that you feel that energy, that positive energy from us, from all of the team here, and from each other, and that we look forward to helping you pursue your dreams and to being, so proud of everything that you will be and become in the years to come. Nadiya, any final thoughts?
No, couldn't say it any better. Couldn't say it any better. I mean, the only thing I would say is that I think sometimes one comes in with this idea without even getting to know me. I think folks come in with this idea of like, this is what I said I was going to be about, or this is what I am meant to be. And so, yes, we believe in your dreams, we believe in what you've said, but we believe more in you. Like, those dreams will evolve, and we'd love to be a part of that. Yeah? And you're going to be a part of that for each other.